Let's rumble!
Find refuge, find strength, and find peace. Bethesda Temple, the home of grace.
My hotline to Jesus is not disconnected. And finally, I brought my praise with me. So now I'm ready to rumble. You see, when you have on the breastplate of righteousness, God protects your heart from any sense of condemnation or guilt that has a way of hindering your worship or your service to God. I can just put it to you like this. If you bring it to me, I'll tell you, yeah, I did it and probably did worse than that, but I've been forgiven. I'm not perfect, but I am forgiven. I'm not sinless, but I am forgiven. I'm not guiltless, but I am justified. And I won't let you bringing up my past keep me away from my future and my destiny. I'm just saying what I would do if somebody came to me. I don't know about you. See, that's the way I rumble. I'm already rumbling, because if the adversary comes my way, I'll tell him, you have no grounds to tell me that. Because I've been forgiven. I am the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. As long as I remain in Christ Jesus, I remain in his righteousness. It's not my own righteousness. I recognize that my righteousness personally is as filthy rags, but thank God I cast away my righteousness and I picked up the righteousness of God. And for anybody that catches my filthiness, they can have it. Let me move on. Then Paul said that we are to have our feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Goes back to the armor of the Roman warrior. A Roman soldier's sandals were studded with nails so that that soldier could have a firm footing for either standing and fighting or advancing and fighting. The word preparation is the translation of the Greek word hetoimasia. Hetoimasia means readiness, but it also bears the connotation of establishment or a firm footing. The gospel, which has brought you peace with God, will bring you peace and give you firm footing in every situation in your life. Now, from the shoeing of the feet, we move to the shield of faith. And that's pretty self-explanatory. It is faith that quenches the fiery darts of the wicked one. It is faith that repels the attack of the enemy. It is faith that drives back the advances of the adversary. And it is faith that helps us to stand strong when we would want to cut and run. This is why in 2 Corinthians 5 and 7, Paul instructs us that we walk by faith and not by sight. When we walk by sight, we become fearful, but thank God we walk by faith, so that even when we see something that would make us want to cut and run, our faith holds us still, and we know that the God we serve and the God that we have faith in, the God that we believe in, is equal and superior to whatever is standing in front of us. There is no enemy that can come before us and stand. Do you recall what God said to Joshua? God said to him, there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. Only be thou strong and of a good courage. And I am saying the same thing to you today. If you are standing in the armor of God with the shield of faith, there will be no enemy who can stand before you all the days of your life. And as God was with Moses, as God was with Joshua, as God was with David, God will be with you. He will not fail you. He will not forsake you. Oh, I wish somebody would just put your hands together and give God some praise. I'm starting to feel this. After the shield of faith, Paul admonished us to take the helmet of salvation. The word take in this verse is dekomai. And I say that to you not because I'm trying to be pedantic this morning, but because it actually means the opposite of take. It means receive. It means receive. You can't take salvation. You're not big enough. You're not bad enough. You're not rough enough. You're not tough enough. You don't have stuff enough to take salvation from God. But because God is big enough, bad enough, rough enough, tough enough, got stuff enough, and loves you enough, he gives it, and all you have to do is receive it. But I want you to notice something else. The helmet covers that final major seat of human life, the seat of intellect. The helmet protects the brain. This speaks to us of being transformed, changed, of a different mind. When we come to Christ, we learn to think differently. I'm going somewhere. Matter of fact, let me just go there. The problem with so many of us is we were told to do differently without having things explained to us. And so it seemed like people were just laying heavy burdens upon us, and we're just barely getting in the church. But when your mind is transformed, when your mind is changed, and you start thinking differently, that's when you start acting differently. Because you have different concepts, you take on a different persona, you become somebody else from the inside out, not from the outside in. Are you with me? I submit to you that any change from the outside in is not a change at all. Not a true change, it's just a switch. But a change